Good morning, Bande Matram. Welcome all of you. This morning's discussion will be on open only to the divine. That is the topic of discussion for right now. When we talk of the topic on our divine, so definitely there are two things we must take care of. One, we must open ourselves to, and the second, open only to the divine, nothing, nobody. Because in the integral yogic process, when somebody is pursuing this path, only he must know divine is only, is entirety is divine. He is the beginning, he is the middle, and he is the end. There is nothing except the divine for the spiritual sadhaka seeker. Divine is will is all for him and the divine Ananda. Nothing but the divine, only the divine, and he has to open. Without open, how the grace will enter in, rush in. So for that, actually, you have to open yourself, and this opening will be only to the divine, because with the opening to the divine force, divine light will rush in, and the divine working will start. Our limitations and distortions are our contribution to the working. Our limitation, distortion are our contribution to the working. The true power in it is the divine's. Nothing but the divine. His force will come. His light, divine force will come. Divine light is come. Everything will work in that way. So we have got our lacuna, we have got our problems, we have got our limitations, but the thing is that the divine works in different way. That's what our errors, our limitations, our confines, that has been, whatever we feel as our disadvantages, divine uses all these disadvantages and convert it towards the super advantages. I will quote one thing. Divine working uses error in order to arrive at the truth, suffering in order to arrive at the bliss, imperfection in order to arrive at the perfection. So, three things are there. One is imperfection, that divine working uses the imperfection to arrive at the perfection. Second, our error, the divine working uses our error in order to arrive at the truth. Suffering, divine uses our suffering in order to arrive at the bliss. So, second aspect, what about the opening when we speak of the opening in a big way? Mother Sri Aurobindo has the beautiful observation on opening. Sri Aurobindo quotes, there must be an exclusive self-opening to the divine power. There will be an exclusive self-opening. There is no other go towards the divine power. And the second opinion is having from the Lord. Opening is a thing that happens by itself by sincerity of will and aspiration. Ordinarily, I think I am opening, I feel I am opening. That is not the thing. But the thing is that it comes by with the two methods. One, by sincerity of will, and second, sincerity of aspiration. So opening is the thing that happens by itself. By itself it opens. You need not have to exercise a lot. Opening is a thing that happens itself by sincerity of will and aspiration. Sincerity of will, that is a must, and second is aspiration. Both two methods, both two things, that is with both opening happens by itself. And also another quotation is we can realize, we can recollect from Sri Aurobindo quotes, beautiful. It is by the constant remembrance. It is by the constant remembrance that the being is prepared for the full opening. That's what you must know. By constant remembrance, not sometimes we think, after sometimes we forget. Nothing like this. It is by constant remembrance that the being is prepared for the full opening. Anyway, we'll go a little bit further on quoting how the one question was put to the mother, and will concentrate upon that question. That question is regarding to this aspect, open only to the divine. That was a beautiful question, and of course, it is a big question. Already, we have no sincerity of will and aspiration. So many ways it opens by constant remembrance. Here, the question was put to the mother: um, what does an exclusive self-opening to the divine power means? Already we have quoted yeah, this by exclusive self-opening to the divine power. What this is really meant? That was the question being put to the mother. Mother explains. Instead of self-opening, we could put receptivity. Instead of self-opening, we could put receptivity, something that opens in order to receive. Receptivity from receive it is the receptivity. Instead of self-giving, we should put receptivity, something that opens in order to receive. Now, instead of opening and receiving from all sides, from everyone, from all side and from everyone, as is usually done, one opens only to the divine to receive. He has to receive, go. Like example, I'll give. Suppose you need to buy, purchase something for your daughter's marriage. You are going for marketing from A to bottom, to rock to bottom, from one part to another. You keep moving from here to there. But you know, there is another aspect. There is a big bazaar in the midst of your city. You can go for that big bazaar. You know, from the big bazaar, anything you can get, no problem. You need not have to worry about your where, how. You have to ask here and there. You have to move, you have to stand. But in big bazaar, this is one stop destination, you know, one stop destination, and that will really fulfill your requirements like this. So instead of opening and receiving from all sides, from everyone, as is usually done, normally we do, we go here and there, we accept, we receive, we approach, in so many ways. That is the fundamental one. One opens only to the divine to receive only the divine force. That is what, and it is not even available somewhere with somebody whom we feel the worthiest. So it is very opposite to what men usually do. Normally, what usually do, this is the contrary, complete contrary. So you have to go for the divine, go to the only to the divine to receive only everything. So there are always open on the surface. They are always open on the surface. Superficially, they are open. They receive all influences from all sides. When they are on the surface, they receive all from all sides, you know. In one side, we are opening to the truth, and from another side, we are open to the hostile process. Just imagine how it will work. So in one side we are open to the light, and another side it is open to the darkness. It will never work, because they feel both contrarieties are contrarieties should stay, but actually it will create bring havoc for you, bring big disadvantage for you if you are willing to suffer the spiritual consequences during the course. And then this produces inside them what we might call a mother loves pot of worry of the all kinds of contradictory movements, which naturally creates countless difficulties. Sri Aurobindo quotes it is actually spiritual consequence. Mother quotes all it creates countless difficulties. So here you are advised to open only to the divine. You are advised. You are advised. It is the advice for all. Especially from my side, I will try to quote people who are pursuing this integral yoga, who are the sadhakas of this integral yoga. To open only to the divine and to receive only the divine force to the exclusion of the everything else. Don't remain on the surface. Go inside, deep inside, know the truth, aspire. You must have a will. You must have a steady, your aspiration for that. And this diminishes all difficulties almost entirely, because when divine force will rush, When the base is ready, then all these opposite forces, these obstacles, will never have a stand there with you. So again, mother quotes again. There is another reply from the mother, with which mother actually explains in a big way, escape from other influences. That's what normally we do. Mother has already quoted in her quotings. That's what we do. That question was put: how can we escape from other people's influence? They are coming. They are among us. They are around us. They are we are under their influence. How shall we escape their influence? That is the question being put to the mother. Mother explains: by concentrating more and more totally and completely on the divine. Keep the temple clean, and this cleanness will be in favor of the divine. This force has to come, this light has to descend, and they have to work. And with the working, suppose in one place we are aspiring, we are having the will, we are calling, but when the force is coming, we are simply closing the door. How it will work? So this door aspiration must be there, constant willingness must be there, we must be open, and the steady aspiration it is there, repetition is there, we will be continuity will be there. And when the force is coming, we must be able to know it, identify it, and one with it. We must open the door so that it will rush in, it will work, and simply we will let it work, and let it work. And we'll as a simple witness, you have to observe how and where and when and which way it is working. Then actually you will feel yourself to be an witness, that or an instrument of this divine working. So if you aspire with all your ardor, that's what mother wants. If you aspire with all your ardor, if you want to receive only the divine influence, if all the time you pull back towards yourself what is taken, caught by the other influences, and with your will put it under the divine influence, you succeed in doing it. Very interesting. It is a step by step procedure, mother course. If you aspire with your all your ardor, number one. Number two, if you want to receive only the divine influence, then if all the time you pull back towards yourself what is taken, and caught by other influences, what has been mixed, you want to pull it towards the divine influence, and with number five, with your will put it under the divine influence, then you succeed in doing it. That is the only condition, there is no other go. And it's a work that can't be done in a day or a minute or a seconds. It is a progressive one, it takes time. You must be vigilant for a very long time. Don't imagine that immediately it is coming and opening. Sometimes it works as per your receptivity and as per the grace, but the thing is that you must be very vigilant, much more vigilant for a very long time. It is time consuming for years, but one can succeed. Sometimes it is not the process of impatience. Impatience never help never helps. Aspire intensely but without impatience. Impatience infinity needs an infinity patience. Impatience has no role, nothing to do with it, then only will succeed. First of all, you must will it, number one. For all things, first you must understand, will, then third process, begin to practice. Begin as a just a little. Not that immediately you will change turn the dice down, turn the table down. That is not the condition. So, condition, step by step, you have to do. First of all, you must will it. Then, first, for all things you must understand. Second, will. Then begin to practice. Begin as just a very little, not the, don't try to put your finger inside that hot water or hot khiri, what is actually burning like anything. It will your fingers will burn out. So next step, what we do really, the only way out, what's your mother quotes, the only way out. So don't expect human appreciation, mother quotes. Don't expect human appreciation because human beings don't know on what ground they will appreciate something. That is what. Don't expect anything. But moreover, when there is something that is superior to them, they don't like it. So don't try to take their help, take their grace, take their blessings, take their goodwill, because you know that is there. But the thing is that you must be able to know only the divine that can grant everything, that can give you everything, and with the divine force and the light, you can achieve anything. That is the minimum requirement and minimum requirement need. So, Mother Sri Aurobindo is having couple of lines. I will try to quote because it is already the time. I know, you know. To the materialist, he disguises himself in matter. To the materialist, divine disguises himself in matter. For the nihilist, he wants words abused in the bosom of annihilation. To the materialist, he disguises himself in matter. For the nihilist, he wears abused in the bosom of annihilation. So, we know the divine and become the divine. We know the divine and we become the divine, for we are that already in our secret nature. Ordinary nature, which is actually on the surface, which is actually focused, which is actually open. There you can feel nothing, but we know the divine and become the divine because we are that already in our secret nature. If the divine were not in you, you would never know the divine because that the seed of the Godhead lurks in us. The master of existence lurks in us. It is there, the seed is there. So when the seed is there, when things is are acclimatized, when the situation turns everything favorable, then naturally from that seed, the great tree, the beginning of the blossoming of the great tree, coming out of the tree, great tree will start then only. That's what you know. So the ascent to the divine life is the human journey. You must know what is the goal, for what I am actually here. The ascent to the divine life is the human journey, the work of works, the acceptable sacrifice. Here in the course, that is acceptable sacrifice. Again, finally, here in the course. In the divine life, all is for the sake of divine, for the sake of the divine, not for the sake of the ego. Ego has absolutely no place in that atmosphere. In that periphery, is absolutely helpless. It has no role to play. You just try to send your ego to a remotest place, I will tell you. It has no need at all. The divine life must always be actuated by the push towards a perfection. Sometimes we step two step forward, and we feel in ourselves with our undetermined and unaware motive like that we have done a great thing. But thing is that divine life must always be actuated by a push towards a perfection. Perfection, nothing but perfection. That is the goal we must remember. Vande Matra.